That begs the question, what does this mean to Texas? Ole Miss, though, with a decisive victory over Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. Utah trying to stay alive with a win at Kansas, and a win's a win for Georgia over Georgia Tech. That's all that happened yesterday, guys. But let's go back to that win for the Longhorns, because Sark making his college football playoff case.
It's the message that what do we want to send to the head coaches and the athletic directors around the country? Do you want us not to schedule Ohio State? Because if we're a 10-2 team right now, this isn't a discussion. We're in the playoff. But we were willing to go up there and play that game. And so now when you play 5 top 10 ranked teams in the regular season and you go 3-2, you beat 3 of them, and you schedule an Ohio State out of conference play, I surely don't think we want to punish us to do that, because what are we all going to do? We're all going to get out of those games, just like a lot of other teams in the country have done. And they've got nice, pretty records right now. But they weren't willing to go play these games out of conference. We're willing to go play those games. I just hope we don't get punished for doing that.
So Texas throwing a wrench in the college football playoff race right now. What, B-Mac? What?
You guys see over there?
Coach is preaching.
That's what he has to do. It is
preaching.
absolutely his job.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about what he has to say, but I want to dig into the numbers, because right now Sportsline gives Texas an 11% chance to make the college football playoff. But Mackenzie Brooks, what could happen today to bump that number up and maybe get them in?
I know, that's the wild part, right? They have all these other things that could happen. By 7 p.m. tonight, Texas could have a better than 50% chance to make the college football playoff if things go their way. In the noon slate, Miami loses to Pitt. We've seen crazier things happen to Miami in November. You have Michigan, who goes down to Ohio State, the number 1 team in the country. That seems pretty reasonable to me. And then you have Vandy on the road in Tennessee as underdogs. So if you have all 3 of those teams go down, that at-large bidness and that percent of the pie you're holding in the at-large conversation becomes a lot more stake you have there.
Yeah, suddenly a 3-loss Texas team with 3 top 10 wins looks a lot better. But B-Mac, you're giggling here, so I'll give you the first word.
Now, I want to know if
what do you think
believe in what he's
right?
preaching.
I am.
I want to know.
You are?
I am. Now, we talked about this, Damien, on the College Reviewer show this past Tuesday, because it's just what I need to do. We talked about this. I threw out Texas' name. They jumped on me. B-Mac, what are you talking about? There's no way in the world that could happen. It's a 3-loss team, never could get into the playoffs. In this format with the college football playoffs, everyone said there's no way in the world that could happen. Well, with them beating arguably one of the best teams in college football by double digits in a game in which their quarterback, Arch Manning, outplayed Marcel Reed. In totality, their defense was the better defense. And what we're seeing from Texas over the last few weeks, especially since beating Oklahoma, their quarterback has found his stride. The play calling has been able to coexist in who Arch Manning is as a quarterback, and their defense has been getting timely stops, and they're playing with a lot of confidence. So for what Steve Sarkisian just gave all of us, you're punishing them for playing against Ohio State, and they only lost to Ohio State by 1 possession. Week 1, they were right there. They have played Ohio State the closest out of the entire schedule that Ohio State has faced. And in Texas, they're playing the best football right now in their season. So he has a valid point. I'll say this. If Vandy loses, which I think will happen, if Alabama loses, Texas gets to the playoffs.
They do.
Yeah, I know you
But
have
they don't
thoughts on that
control
Week 1 game.
Say that one more time.
I know you have thoughts on that Week 1 game between Ohio State and Texas. How much did that factor into this?
Well, here's where I stand on that. I don't think that we should reward teams for scheduling good competition and then losing to good competition. Because as we sit here and we compare resumes, we're comparing wins, we're comparing losses. Now, if Texas hadn't lost to Florida, then yes, I give you the nod for going to Ohio State, playing them competitively, being the best opponent that they faced all year. I give you that credit. But you lose to a Florida team. You play well against teams like Mississippi State. Now, granted, Arch Manning, he has found his stride. They outplayed Texas A&M last night. But just the conversation about that Week 1 game, I don't think that we should put so much on, okay, well, you scheduled Ohio State. You weren't afraid. You took onus to go and schedule a tough opponent. So that gives you extra merit when it comes to comparing resumes. I just don't necessarily agree with that. You win that game, then yes, we'll give you your flowers. We'll give you beat Ohio State at Ohio State. Then we knock Ohio State's resume starting at Week 1, like we're doing with Alabama right now because they lost to Florida State. I just don't think we can put all of our eggs in one basket and believe Steve Sarkisian saying, oh, well, we played Ohio State, so we deserve to be in. If we hadn't played them, it would be no conversation.
He's saying that they shouldn't be punished for playing Ohio State and losing.
But they lost.
But they lost.
So,
right.
So hey, hold on. In what other scenario are we not going to punish a team and take down their resume and how good it is for losing?
No, I agree. And I think what we don't want college football to turn into is the cupcake
25.5 point spread.
Yeah,
I agree.
Cupcake season. When you in the SEC, our non-conference schedule is going to be against lesser talented teams. That's what they will start to do, and that's what he's emphasizing. But you got to win the games you're supposed to win. All I'm saying is this, DK.
Yep.
When you look at the SEC in totality, right now, who's playing better football than Texas? Right now.
There's a different question, though, between are they a playoff quality team and should they get in?
But that's what I think that's what the committee values. You say Georgia. Is there another team playing better football than Texas?
Hold on. I think
now.
You're basically saying.
Wait a minute. I asked DK a question.
No, because this goes back to last week. Hold on, just hold on, because you brought me into something earlier, so now I'm interjecting myself into something. Do you believe that one of the biggest metrics that the committee uses is recency?
Yes.
Okay, that was my only question.
That's why I asked that question.
That was it.
Right.
So I want to hear his answer. Georgia and who else?
If you look at Oklahoma's defense, that defense looks championship worthy.
In totality, the entire body of the team.
Alabama?
Their quarterback.
Alabama, I would say.
Okay, that's two.
That's two. Vanderbilt?
No.
But there's still enough teams we're mentioning ahead of us.
Ole Miss, thank you. Ole Miss, thank you.
And I would say Alabama is kind of,
right.
But I would give you Georgia and Ole Miss for sure. For sure.
Well, who has Ole Miss played? That's always going to be my issue. The recency bias and the frustration, too, is that team's probably going to have 5 seed.
Again, though, there's a difference between is this team playoff caliber versus does this team deserve to get in?
So this whole thing is a giant house of cards when you think about Steve Sarkisian's argument, okay? Because he said yesterday it would be a disservice to college football if Texas is in the college football playoff. And he referenced their wins and beating Texas A&M and how great of a win that was. And he mentioned their loss to Ohio State, which was a good loss. He glossed over their other 2 losses, which were awful losses because they lost by 25 to Georgia and they lost to a 3-8 Florida team.
Really bad.
Those are horrendous losses, not to mention they were in overtime with Kentucky. They had to come back from 24 down versus Mississippi State. And he wants to talk about scheduling, play 9 Power 4 conference games. We glossed over San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston, who are also on his schedule. So let's not act like this schedule was something that just puts you in automatically at 9-3. If some of those things happen, I am willing to listen as Texas is the best 9-3 team. But for him to say that before knowing that, saying it's a disservice to college football, I think it's a disservice to the regular season if you just give Texas a free pass to the playoff because you don't look at what happens every single week. The resume is 12 games, not 3 or 4 your best weeks.
And then those Florida games are showing your floor and how bad you can be, too. Like, we have them power ranked 10. I think a lot of people would assume we'd have them higher at this point because of the momentum, but we're not forgetting what happened in Gainesville and those types of games. Like, their floor should be as important as your ceiling.
Yeah, it has looked very bad for Texas at points this season, just because last night was a great success for them. Ultimately, they have an 11% chance.
One more question. Because I think one of those house of cards that falls apart is they are really hanging their hat on the Texas A&M win.
Who if they played?
If Texas A&M, now that Texas A&M has a loss, where do they fall in the hierarchy of one-loss teams? They beat Notre Dame, but they have played the bottom dwellers of the SEC.
Yeah, they're at the bottom. So what happened was they went from being in the SEC championship to now being out of it, and we have them as a 7 seed now. Which is crazy because of the head-to-heads and the strength of schedule, and you're not going to punish a Texas Tech for winning. You're not going to punish Ole Miss for being a one-loss team. Like, you're either first or you're last. If you're Texas A&M, and losing that game is now essentially taking you from having a bye top 4 seed to 7 for us.
And it tells you just how easy that SEC schedule was for A&M by the fact that they lost 1 game, and it was not good enough to make the SEC championship game because they didn't have any tiebreakers. They didn't have any of that because the opponents that they played were not good enough. That throws a wrinkle in today. Another thing that's going to throw a wrinkle is, of course, Lane Kiffin. Will he or